Hello again and welcome. This is Ermina, and I am super excited to be sharing a slightly different video. This is a video to add a little bit more content. It's a long form, a longer one. It's not going to be a short tidbit update, it's a much more comprehensive. And the key thing I'm really focusing on is not to try and teach as someone who is a teacher and a mentor. Instead, to just share about my own understanding. And then you can decide whether there's something in there helpful for you. So, this particular video is about what often stops me from a movement practice, what often keeps me from taking the next step. Okay. It's not the only reason, but it's a deeper reason. Okay. And it may resonate with most people, but for different reasons. So you'll see what I mean when I get to it. So let's start. I actually feel my single biggest hurdle to starting something new or restarting a journey or practice is what I would call an addiction to the previous person that I was. This is obvious in my life because I have lived now for almost 6 decades. So I've got a lot of years of reinventing myself. And there are parts of me I want to let go. That's not the issue. But there are parts of me I don't want to let go. And I try very hard to keep those, even if they're detrimental, even if they're making the next step harder. I want to hold on to them. Let me give an example. I was a dancer once. And when I separate that from dancing, I'm still a dancer, but I was someone who wanted to become a professional dancer once. And when that shifted for me around the age of 18, I was so addicted to how good it felt to be dancing every day. I went to performing arts school. So half the day I was dancing. And the first half of the day was focused on the academics, and then the second half was dance classes. I was part of the school's dance troupe, you know, high school stuff. In fact, the other day I Googled my name in Montclair and I found an article that's still on the internet about me dancing. And my teacher back then, Gregory, one of my teachers. And when I stopped wanting to be a dancer and made the decision to move forward toward a more lucrative life, which was business, get a degree in business. So I was around 17, 18 when I made that decision. I didn't know how to grieve what I lost. I didn't even know what I lost. And so I became addicted to trying to hold on to a piece of that. I was dancing a lot, but it was mostly at clubs. I think from 17, 18, well, 18, because I couldn't get into clubs and doing that. From 18 to about 25, I must have been in clubs every single weekend. It was one way for my body to be able to get that dopamine fix from dancing because I wasn't taking dance classes as often. I mean, I every once in a while, but I wasn't moving the way I was used to moving half a day and walk to school. So I was used to doing all this movement, and all of a sudden now it became I was working in retail. It became work. It became a focus on so many other things, and I found myself uh, struggling to let go of that version of myself because I didn't know how to grieve that. I didn't go through a transition. I did not go through a life stage transition. I literally was like, okay, well, this is not going to work. I do this, blah, 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 and moved on. Sorry about that weird pause. I had to attend to something. So I couldn't figure out how to move from being the dancer, the label that I put on myself. Not just the dancer. I had been dancing from the age of 2 when I was would put my feet on other people who were better dancers and compas and do the compas in Haiti. You ever see those little girls that are like dancing so well and people are like, oh, ancestors, and ancestors return, ancestors return. I was one of those young people, one of those kids who could learn any dance that was given to me from a young age all the way up to when I started taking dance classes officially and wanted to pursue dancing. Dance is my medicine. It's one of my medicines. And our body has the intelligences to let us know what is it that we need to keep us healthy longer. And you've always, maybe not you, but people often talk about how dancers tend to have a long life if they're dancing. They tend to live a very long life, especially if they're using their legs. And there's a research recently that was saying how legs uh, is connected to heart function. So if you're moving those major muscle groups, you're likely to have a healthier heart. So walking is, doesn't have to be dancing. Walking, leg press, um, anything that deals with moving those larger muscle groups will help keep the battery functioning well and uh, support life longer in the body. So, and I'm gonna keep looking sideways because that's where I have my computer to try to stay on track. So the focus for me is um, detachment from the previous version of myself. Uh, that detachment, there's been times when it's been like peeling a band aid that got stuck to a wound. Okay, that's really graphic, I know, but that's what came out for me to share. And it's like slowly peeling it off versus, or fast where it hurts probably the most, or even having um removing hair using one of those peeling things. So what was missing, and I now recognize it, and it took decades, is not that addiction to self is a problem. It's actually a normal part of life as human beings, especially if we are the kind that tends to be that get highly fixated with things. Removing and changing and moving is what severing or ceremonies are for. At least that's for me. So now today, what I've learned to do is I gotta do a ceremony. I gotta do a celebration. And maybe even before that, a grieving of whatever's going on, whatever I'm letting go of, the version of myself. I gotta grieve her because she's still gonna be in the backdrop. But I'm letting her know that she has to sit down. She has to sit her ass down in the background, not always be trying to get my attention while I'm doing and moving into the newer version of myself. Older systems have that in place for many people where you do a life passage ceremony of some kind, even if it's a tiny thing. Modern systems have it too. They just call it a party, a birthday party to let go of the previous age, a holiday to let go of the previous season. If it's a holiday around seasons, uh, a ceremony if it's graduation. We have it, but we may skip parts of it, like the part that deals with the grief, honoring that older version and sitting with that older version and thanking that older version for everything they brought us to up to that point and looking eye to eye with that older version of ourselves. Yes, you can do that. You can literally sit in the mirror and talk to the older version of yourself. And you can do it in different scenarios where you really can get that older version of yourself to show up. Um, this is more of a spiritual thing here, but basically, yes, you can talk to the older version of yourself. Photographs can help. You can take, that's what photographs do. Um, Good friends, healthy, balanced friends, from the past, bring up memories that can help. Notice I said healthy, balance, um, stable, mentally stable friends can help, and family can help. Uh, so there's different ways of grieving that older version, which often comes back to visit. That's another thing I had to learn. Just because we say goodbye to that older version doesn't mean on the anniversary of graduation from high school, my older dancer doesn't want to come back and sit a while and visit with me and talk about what it was like to dance for 3 to 4 hours a day. What it was like that first time I learned how to do a backward pirouette, well, reverse pirouette. What it was like when I learned to stand on point the first time and went upstairs into the studio, the empty studio, and practice on my own because I couldn't get that one movement that everybody else was doing, and we had a show coming up. So I went upstairs and I practiced and practiced until I got it. And I came down. I was like, Gregory, guess what? I can do it. And poor guy was like, wow, you really took this seriously, did you? Yeah. Hyperfixated, right? That's one of the tools we have. Anyway, so they come back. They come back to visit every once in a while, and it's okay to sit down with them. And that's one thing I had to learn for myself. Um, this is again why ceremonies and rituals. I was telling myself I wouldn't be teaching, but here it is, stuff coming out this way. But ceremonies and rituals every so often for a particular energy within ourselves has to be honored and respected and seen and looked at and revisit and we shake hands with them. In Haiti, we shake hands with them. We let them know that I haven't forgotten you. It's been 7 years since I last talked to you, but I haven't forgotten you. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you did. Um, I thought this was going to be a lot sadder video, but I'm actually pretty happy talking about this. And there are parts I do want to mention that are important. So I'm going to review my notes real quick and then come back to it. All right. So the art of letting go of the old self is probably one of the biggest lessons I had to learn about transformation, one of the biggest lessons I had to learn about living well, one of the biggest lessons I had to learn about um, what do people often go, feeling trapped, feeling depressed, feeling stuck. That's really the word most people say. When I felt stuck, and that happened so many times in my life, it was because I did not want to let go of the old version of me. Whether she was comforting or she was beating me up. I've had old versions of myself that still show up, just not in the same degree. Definitely not. That would want me to stay in the pain. Like, sit here with this pain because you have not sat with her for whatever. You've been avoiding this pain with all the hard work you've been putting on this. Sit here with this pain. And then I would have to sit with the pain for hours on end, days on end, years on end. Often working really hard to keep momentum going in spite of sitting with my own pain. Grief does not like to be ignored. Grief does not like to be ignored. I think if we study any system around the world, we will recognize that there was always a focus on grieving everything from physical loss to mental loss to psychological loss to transitions to rewards, recreations to positives. It wasn't everything because there was always something that had to be surrendered. And if we don't learn how to surrender naturally, the surrender makes us surrender. you know, it literally is like you cannot forget me. You cannot forget. This is me speaking as a surrender or the letting go. it will not allow, it has never allowed me to just kind of like, and I think as a younger person, I used to think that, and maybe most younger people still think this, right? We're unstoppable, right? Especially if you have a body that's able to do a lot of stuff, like physically move and just flexible. Maybe you're not even flexible, just able to learn, grow, adapt. We feel unstoppable, and we are at that age. I the stuff I put my body through, the running for the crazy, unstoppable. Until our body said, okay, where is the letting go of that version or that activity so that you can do the opposite of it? So if you spend 2 hours running, where is the 2 hours of resting? If you spent 2 hours of weight training, I was insane back then. Where is the 2 hours or four or eight, especially if it's something you progressive weight training? Where's the period where the muscle's growing? Or you're just going to keep pushing. And there are some people, because different body types, right? There's some people who can do certain things longer and need less physical rest. So I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm speaking about my own experiences. And if you're one of those people, recognize things are a little different for everybody, a lot different sometimes. Okay. And so I want to end this because I'm going on to 16 minutes. What I want to say about this particular, the art of letting go as part of uh, movement for me is to learn to respect, honor, grieve, uh, love. That's the connection part. All of me through the process of restarting, through the process of repetition, because that's what's needed for me. It's the repetition. I have to keep doing it over and over again to honor all of the aspects of self growing through transformation in order for me to get to the other side. And is that easy? I don't know. Is it absolutely necessary? Yes. Yes, for me, absolutely necessary. Is it easier over time after doing it and falling off and doing it and falling? Yes, it gets so much easier. Uh, like I said, I no longer beat myself up like I used to. Now it's more like a gentle nudge or a push or a loving embrace through the difficulty, you know. So I feel like this is it. I'm good. Good place to end. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for visiting. Uh, Come again soon. And if any of this helps you, apply it to your life. If none of it helps you, that's okay. And it's okay to share with someone else as well. Thank you for visiting. And until next time, this is Ermina signing out.